Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of With Intention. It's good to be back. It's been so long since I've spoken to a microphone. I've been a bit under the weather. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but yeah, no episode last week, of course. Just couldn't get it out of me. But here we are, next week's episode on the way. And this week's episode, I want to talk about burnout. Because I find it very interesting. Burnout is one of those things where you either have or you haven't experienced it by now. And I don't think we talk about burnout enough, especially how to handle burnout, what to do when you get burnout, and how to not get burnt out. And yeah, I just found it very interesting. But we are back. I think I saw a stat which was saying that about 90-something% of podcasts don't make it after episode 7 or something, or like 99% of podcasts don't make it past episode 7. So I think this is episode 4 now. So yeah, episode 5 now. So we're getting closer and closer to not being a statistic, which is good. I'm so grateful for every single person that takes the time to hear the stuff that I ramble about. And I hope you enjoy this one today. Burnout is a state of physical, mental, and sometimes emotional exhaustion. And it's caused by prolonged exposure to stress, or sometimes it could be chronic stress and fatigue, which results in fatigue. This is usually caused either by just feeling overexerted in yourself, and you can't handle the pressure that you're going through right now, but you're going to continue to persevere because you know that there's no other thing that you could be doing right now besides tackling the thing. And if you're anything like me, you've probably experienced burnout like once or twice now. This episode is for someone that has gone through burnout or doesn't want to go through burnout. And if you have gone through burnout, understanding when you're going to get burnout sooner, and if you're on the track to being burnt out, how to avoid burnout as much as you can, and how to be as effective as possible with what you do now to prevent you getting burnt out. About a couple of weeks ago, I was about to get burnt out from just making podcasting, working, sorting out life and everything like that. And I could feel myself getting to the stage in which I was about to be fatigued. But the thing with burnout is that you don't normally realize it until you're in deep or like months deep in burnout and you're wondering like, oh, what the heck is going on? And you just don't feel the same. Your energy is not the same. Your drive isn't the same. Your just happiness and your smile isn't the same. So I wanted to share about how I was able to see that I was getting into a stage in burnout and what to do to prevent you from getting into the stage 2, whether you're in university, which a lot of you might be going through, job hunting, just people in general, and just trying to navigate life, friendships, and just sorting out that path towards being independent. You can get easily burnt out by stuff, especially if you experience the same type of stress over and over again, and you can't find an answer or a particular solution to getting over that thing. The first time I experienced, burnout was probably when I was about 16 or 17, going into my GCSEs. Yeah, man, I just remember like studying for like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours at a time. And my brain just felt so focused and so locked in on that one thing that I just wasn't appreciating everything else that was happening around me. And some would say I was very locked in, but I would just say that I was just so mentally fatigued by everything else. I was so mentally fatigued by the course and education itself that I wasn't able to understand how tired I was. I was just in a state where I was just focusing so much on the exams just getting done. And I think that's a point that a lot of us go through, where we are just saying, oh, I can't wait till I just get through this. I can't wait till I just get these exams over and done with. Like, I just don't even feel the same anymore. And then when the exams are done, we're like, oh, finally I can just chill and relax. And we just get ready for the next burnout season. And because of that system, you actually don't realize that you're getting burnt out each time. You just tell yourself that what you're going through right now is going to be temporary and you're going to get over it. And because of that, you don't make or implement boundaries or systems around you to help you not get burnt out in the future. And because of that, you don't notice that you are getting burnt out because you get the remedy, which is relaxation, or you get the um, rest soon enough. Because you know that it's temporary, you tell yourself that this is just going to be for a while. And then you'll be able to sleep. And then you'll be able to go and hang out with friends. And then you'll be able to chill. But what if you don't? Or what if you're in a chronic state of burnout? How long should your burnout even last? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Freaking 6 months? I think a lot of us should be asking ourselves more often, how long should it take me to realize that I'm getting burnt out? And what is the cost of me being burnt out right now? Because the cost isn't the thing. The cost is never the thing that you're focusing on, because you're focusing on it so much that you don't feel like you're burning out while doing it. But you're neglecting all the externalities around you. How are your relationships with the people you care about going? How is your relationship with your sleep going? How's your relationship with food? Are you eating better? How's your skin doing? These are the costs that we don't notice. How's your overall health doing? When you are in a stage of burnout, your body can't give you those triggers to think about how to handle the stuff that you're going through. All it does is take you to the next step of what you're going through. And from that, when I went through those seasons, I realized that I was just going through the motions, especially first year, because first year I was burnt out from such an early stage during the year. It didn't take that long, and I'm pretty sure anyone that's been through an engineering degree would know that the first semester when you go from A levels to uni for the first time is insane. Going from one country to another, going from one continent, figuring out to another, to experience what life would be like was just crazy. And there was just so much stuff that I was stressed about apart from my grades. When you're used to the type of stress that you're normally experiencing, you don't normally get burnt out. Like, there is a certain amount of stress that we can just handle in the day. But when that stress becomes different, when it becomes overwhelming, when it becomes uncontrollable, that's when we go on the stage leading on to burnout. For myself, it was having to manage my finances, having to manage my sleep, having to manage my health, having to manage my education, having to manage my social life. There was just so many things that I couldn't control that put me in a state in which burnout was almost undeniable. It was instantaneous. And I think there's a lot more people that go through the same thing too. Hey, if you're enjoying the show so far, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. It genuinely makes more of a difference than you think. All right, let me not take too much of your time. Let's get back into it. I was burnt out for about probably 7 or 8 months of the year. Even during my times of rest, I could feel like as soon as I went back into uni, I remember the Christmas break was probably one of the worst Christmas breaks I've ever had, where I was going into a holiday on Christmas break and I was coming back even more tired. That's when I knew that, oh, this break wasn't really what was helping me out, because I was still thinking about how to get through uni, how to figure something out, how to actually get something over the line. And because I hadn't closed that chapter yet, I wasn't able to rest. So even though you're in a moment of pause, but maybe you do go on holiday and you do take time to just not think about it, because you haven't closed that chapter yet, it's still in the back of your mind. You're still thinking, oh man, I have exams coming up. I need to figure out how to catch up. Oh man, I haven't done these tutorial sheets. I need to figure out how to catch up. Oh man, I'm gonna go back to be like doing my laundry. I'm gonna be going, I'm gonna be going back to doing all these things that I'm just not used to doing anymore. And I've got to be able to figure out how to put my stuff together. and you give yourself that stimulation of stress all again, because now that stimulation of stress is something that you're used to, and you're used to the idea of feeling burnt out. You're used to the idea of feeling overwhelmed. You're used to the idea of feeling like you can't handle anything. And now the burnout has become the standard that you live by, and you don't realize that you're grudging yourself off. I remember looking at myself at the end of it, and I was just there like, who the heck is this? Like, looking in the mirror. That's why I feel like photos are actually so scary right now. I'm just enjoying a cup of coffee. This coffee is the best coffee ever. Anyway, that's why right now whenever I look in the mirror, especially after seasons of burnout, I always wonder what happened. How could I have not have stopped this sooner? How could I have not have realized that this was what was causing me to break down? Because you don't take the time to pause. You don't take the time to ask yourself what is going on. You don't take the time to truly see that you are losing yourself, because it's so gradual. And those are when it's the most dangerous. When the fatigue is slow, when the fatigue creeps up on you, and you just take it on as taking on one little stress at a time, that's what leads to you burning out. Because you don't think it's that bad, because you're saying, oh, it's just one more thing I need to worry about. Oh, it's just one more thing again I need to worry about. And you don't say, oh my gosh, this one thing I need to worry about is actually really big and I can't handle it right now. Especially if you're someone that is ambitious and wanting to help people and wanting to love people, you will give yourself as much burdens as possible to carry, without realizing that you're damaging yourself in that moment, without realizing that you can't help more people because you're in a state of your burnt out self. You're in a state where you can't help as many people as you want because of how fatigued that you are, but you're telling yourself that this is the best that I can do with what I can do now, which makes completely no sense, because now you can't help people, because now you're limiting yourself each and every time because you're tired, because you're mentally weaker now, because now you're in a state where you're vulnerable. And that's a selfish thing. If you really wanted to help people, the first thing you should have done was not put yourself in a state where you couldn't help as many people as you wanted. And that's what snapped me out of it. It was realizing that I couldn't afford to be burnt out, because that was what was stopping me from being the person that I actually wanted to be. You have to understand that being burnt out isn't a badge of honor. It's something that stops you from being a blessing to those that are around you. It's something that stops you from taking the time to appreciate the life around you, the time that's going by around you. It's taking away you from actually being you yourself and living in this life that you want to appreciate. And the dangerous thing is that once you feel burnt out in one category, it causes you to fall down in those other parts. I've seen myself be burnt out emotionally once, and then it ends up with me not making my workouts as good, or maybe not going to the gym as much because of how emotionally fatigued I am. Academic burnout, which would lead to emotional burnout, not being able to be around or as present with those around you. I want you to understand that just because you feel burnt out in one thing doesn't mean that the burnout is exclusively within that one thing. It will pass over to the other things that you're doing right now. Especially now as Gen Z, we're exposed to so much stimulation in our lives that burnout is almost inevitable. You are shown how inadequately you are as soon as you open your phone and you open social media. And because of that, you put yourself in a state of feeling constantly behind and constantly burnt out by everything around you. And because now you feel like you just can't catch up, you stress test yourself to the max and you think that you can handle it, but you can't. And then you end up being burnt out. You ask yourself, oh man, why aren't I making 100K yet? Like I'm 20. Like I'm not making 100K a month. Like I'm a failure. Oh, I'm not averaging 80% in uni. Oh, My meal prep isn't the best right now. Oh, in the seasons where you're gonna be exposed to stress, you're gonna be exposed to burnout. If you are entering a deep exam season, I think I'm writing this now at the end of May. I'm recording this now at the end of May, so hopefully you guys have done your exams. If you haven't yet, good luck with any exam that you're writing. But if you're entering a season of extreme stress and you give yourself micro needles of stress from your surroundings, you are going to feel mentally burnt out without realizing. I saw a survey which said around 50% of Gen Z feel burnt out, and I couldn't agree more with it. I just feel like we're in a state of existence where all of us just constantly feel burnt out. All of us just feel like we can't keep going, or we're going to keep going while feeling this level of fatigue. Now, looking like you have everything put together is now dressed up as looking at who can handle burnout the most. And I think that's so interesting. I would say that the person that has it all together is the guy that's burning out the least and can't show it. The guy that is having 1 to 2 things that he does in the day because he wants to protect his energy. It's not about the guy that does 10 things in a day and gets awards and gets all these accolades from doing anything in his career, but he gets home, passes out, wakes up and do it again. And that image of seeing someone who's doing everything like that as being successful, or giving them the prize of feeling as if they're going to make it, I think is just ridiculous. Just because you can handle you burning out the most doesn't mean that you are the person that's going to succeed the most. And look, I can put my hands down and I'll say this. I have been able to handle burnout really well. For me to get overwhelmed by stuff, it really took a lot for me to get overwhelmed compared to a lot of people that are also in either education, academia, and everything. But it was because it took me so much to make me stress about why we should talk about burnout so much. Because there's so many other people whose limits are a lot lower than maybe what yours are, maybe what mine are, and they're not doing the best. They are people that can positively contribute to our society, but they're being put in an echo chamber surrounded by systems which are burning them out. And that's not fair. Because someone's going to tell you that's your choice. It's your choice that you're on Instagram, that you're on TikTok, that you're on social media. It's your choice that you picked up your phone. It's your choice that you're going to this university. It's your choice that you're doing all these things. And some of it may be true, but we didn't want to be put in a position where we are constantly feeling as if we're about to be judged, where it makes it feel as if you have to handle the burnout for a season because that's just a part of life. Life is hard, so you're going to feel burnt out so you can see how much you can actually handle. But hold on, what if burnout isn't as catastrophic as we actually make it out to seem? You know, that's what you're thinking. Like, okay, I'm burning out, but I'm getting good grades. I'm burning out, but I have my summer internship. I'm burning out, but I got my grad job. I'm burning out, but, you know, I'm in an amazing relationship. And that's what makes it not seem as catastrophic as it looks. Because it's about what's on the outside. And it's those people that look on the outside and make what looks on the outside so much more important. That's what makes burnout look less catastrophic than it is. But those are the people that need help from burnout the most. The people that go to the extreme of saying, hey man, if the performances are okay, but inside maybe I'm going through a bit, then that's fine. And I can get that, because I've been through that position of saying, hell man, maybe burnout wasn't that bad, and I was able to do this, and I was able to get through it. But what if you're genuinely going through a lot of burnout? The only benefit of burnout is all the external benefits of that you're able to achieve, but you're not actually in the moment to appreciate the fact that you're achieving them. So is that really a benefit? Is that really a benefit? Is the work really worth it if you can't appreciate the place that you're at? Or would you want to go through some fever dream of just work harder, bro, and get to the point where you're at the top of the mountain, but you don't even remember how you made the climb? And if that's you saying, you know what, man, I just want to get through this now. I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to charge through. I'm going to get there and I'm going to achieve. And if that's you, fair play. Fair play, because I'm not going to do that. Fair play, because I've been there and I know what it's like to wake up and be on top and be like, yeah, I don't remember how I got here, but I'm just happy that I made it here. And truth be told, maybe some people just work like that. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're anything like me, you probably want to be a bit more intentional with the time that you're giving into what you're doing. And you don't want to just let the time go by as if you're just living life and you're just going through the motions. But someone would tell you, let's say you are burning out. Let's say you're like, oh, I actually want to change. I actually feel as if, I've been burnt by burnout so many times now. I want to do something different. The solutions aren't that easy, because someone could say that you should be burning out, but the next person might say that you might not. I'd be a bit hesitant to tell you to rest. Could be reducing the bar with time for how much work you can actually go through. Not saying that you may not need to rest. Rest may be the best thing for you. I just think you might not be actually at your limits at that time. You might be at a stage where you should not be resting. You should just be changing the approach in which you're doing things. Just because you're feeling burnt out right now doesn't mean that you actually deserve the reward of rest. And that's where sometimes I actually recommend pushing through the burnout, because then you're able to see what you can actually achieve. But I'd only suggest pushing through that burnout if you're able to acknowledge the fact that you are going through a period in which you are feeling burnt out. If you don't feel that, I'm in a season where right now I'm mentally exhausted, and you're not telling yourself, I'm mentally exhausted right now and I want to see what I can do. If you're not there, then don't do it. If you're genuinely just there like, man, I'm so tired, then maybe rest. But I think the only time where you should push through a season of when you're burning out is when you want to increase the standard in which you get burnt out by, and that I would say is probably the only benefit internally. I think externally, obviously, it's like, oh, if I just push through this burnout, I'll get better grades. If I just push through this burnout, I'll get the job. If I just push through this burnout, I'll make a career of myself. I'll make more money. I'll do all of these things. And like, those rewards obviously seem so high. So why would you not chase them? Internally, though, yeah, increasing the way you feel about yourself and what you can handle is definitely a benefit of what burnout has taught me. It's that going through this season, you tell yourself that you can handle more than you think. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be able to handle the burnout itself more than you think. You should be able to handle the work itself and take on that challenge of the work itself more than you think. Being able to say, hey, I was able to go on a 5K on 2 hours of sleep. Sick. It shows that I can actually do that now. But should you be running a 5K on 2 hours of sleep every day? No, you'll die. So have a bit of balance with it. And look at your why. Definitely look at your why. Your why has to be great enough for you to push through the burnout. If that why isn't strong enough, then you are just on a way to getting overwhelmed. Hey, me again. If you've been resonating with what we've been talking about so far, might as well just hit the bell down below. You'll get notified on every single upload that we make. We're here every Wednesday, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on the conversation. All right, take care, and let's get back to the video. Now that I've spoken about the myths of burnout, why you should have maybe a season where you do push and don't push, I wanted to then talk about how to actually spot burnout and how I was able to spot it and what to actually do to avoid you getting burnt out in the future. So, what are the actual signs of burnout? I think the signs of burnout are going to be quite specific to you, but I had a set of overarching signs that you can use for yourself to see whether or not you're on the track to actually getting burnt out or not. Number one, your sleep is inconsistent. You used to have a bedtime of 10 p.m. and now you start to sleep at 11, 12, 1, 2, 8. You just sleep when your body's feeling tired because you know that you're in a season where you just have to keep working. You only wake up to your alarm and you don't feel yourself naturally wake up. And you're just pushing through the motions. Next, you start to think less in the mornings. You wake up and just go. You don't take the time to actually think. You're on your phone more. You just walk through the day. You eat breakfast, maybe while watching YouTube, and you just move through the motions. And you probably only start to defrost at like 1 or 2 p.m. Third, you stress about a deadline, but you're spending more time distracting yourself than you are actually getting over the thing. Frick, I wish someone told me about this before. You having a deadline and doing nothing about that deadline just shows how burnt out you are, because you are just sitting in the stress of the deadline without doing anything about it, and you know that you want to do something about it, but you feel like you can't because you don't have the energy to actually handle the thing that you're going through. So you end up in this repeating cycle of just procrastinating the work and waiting until the last minute to do it because it feels like you don't have the energy until you have the energy to do it itself. And that's so effed because you just end up continuously being in this spin cycle of stressing but not doing anything, of spinning your tires and burning off your tires, but you realize that you've actually gone nowhere. And that's probably one of the biggest ones that people feel and choose to accept because they think that procrastination is just a part of the journey towards actually getting the progress done. They'll say, oh, I need to feel the deadline coming up close to me so I can actually get the work done. These are the people that are the most subject to burnout because there's only so many deadlines that you can handle without you needing as much energy as possible to get it done. Maybe you can do it once or twice, but try 10 times. Try 14 times. You're not going to do it. You just can't. Unless you're David Gogginsing it and you're saying, yeah, man, I'm going to just, I need to feel that anxiety, man. That anxiety is what really gives me that energy to keep going. No, you're not going to do that to yourself. You're going to get burned out and you're going to get overwhelmed. Okay. Number four, you start needing discipline to do stuff that you actually love. I found this the most with the gym. I found that when I was in a season of burnout, you start feeling like you just need the energy to do the things that you care about, spending time with your friends, going for a workout, going for a run, eating a meal that you actually enjoy. The things that you used to find pleasure in have become the things that drain you. And you don't even realize it. And because of that, you don't do it. Because now you think that there's no point. You forget that the reward itself is just doing the thing. You connect going to the gym, going on a walk as a reward, and you don't do it because you're not getting any work done. So you continue to burn yourself out because you feel as if you are constantly stripping yourself away from the things that you enjoy. And now you think that you need even more discipline to do them because you're not getting any work done. And you feel overwhelmed. And you feel tired because your brain hasn't been given the chance to actually now enjoy what it used to enjoy. You start to strip yourself of the things that you enjoy, remove the memory, and now start thinking that you just need more discipline to actually do them. When was the last time you needed discipline to go on a walk? When was the last time you needed discipline to smile? You shouldn't need to punish yourself to make yourself feel happy. You shouldn't feel as if going to the gym needs you to have discipline if it is something that you should look forward to as the highlight of your day every day. And last but not least, you tell yourself, it's okay. After 2 months, I won't feel this way again. But let me tell you this, you will. If you keep telling yourself that after these next 2 months of me stressing over this situation that I'm in, I'm not going to feel this way again, you will. You are burnt out. You're not medicating the burnout. You are purely just putting a bandage over it and waiting for the bandage to fall off and putting another one over it. You're not doing anything that's serious about it. You're just cruising through the burnout and telling yourself that it's okay without actually working on it and trying to better yourself towards not feeling the burnout again. And you start becoming a serial burnoutist where you feel the burnout in you every single time. Don't tell yourself that the burnout is seasonal. That's 2 months a year. 2 months a year in 10 years is 2 years. The last thing that you'd want to remember is seeing how much time you spent burnt out in a season and counting your burnout in years and not days. One of the big things that I've been thinking about next was, how long should burnout actually last? I'm burnt out. How long should this burnout actually be for? Now, the truth is that your burnout should only last for as little as possible before figuring it out, unless, from what I spoke about earlier, you tell yourself that you're accepting the burnout and you're going to push through the burnout for this season of why, if the why internally is high enough to help you get through it. If you're just trying to get for that external validation, if you're trying to get for that career, if you're trying to get for this, and you're burning out, if it's really that important to you, fine. But for those of you who are here by now and you tell yourself that, no, actually, I don't want to feel this burnout for you, your burnout should be lasting as little as possible for you to achieve your external goals. Because you don't realize that if the less burnout you feel, the more efficient you become at achieving those external goals. And that's the missing link that's missing in that time. If you don't connect the fact that when you have more energy, you're able to apply for more jobs, you're able to study better, you're able to sleep better, you're able to perform better, then you're going to be constantly dragging yourself behind everybody else around you. The last thing that you should be comfortable with is catching up to those ahead of you begrudgingly because you don't want to stop and take some time to recover. Instead of you stopping and then speeding up, what you're doing is begrudgingly going and following, but they're speeding up. And you don't realize it because burnout makes you think of life in such a short game and not the long game. And it makes you think that after a long period of time, you're going to catch up, but you don't realize that the people in front of you are speeding up. What's it called? It's the relative velocity of the people that you're competing with is going up. Practically, I'd say that burnout should not last more than 2 months, honestly. If it lasts more than 2 months, take some time off. Or if you're one of those guys that can handle it for longer, fine. But realistically, as soon as you feel yourself on the path to getting burnout, that's when you should cut everything and reassess the things that you're doing now to prevent you from getting burnt out in the first place. Now that you're at the point where you want to limit burnout as little as possible, how can you actually stop the burnout that you're going through? What can we do to limit the amount of burnout that you're experiencing so you can consistently be intentional and push through the work that you're trying to get done? Limiting burnout looks like this. It's implementing the systems that are around you and iterating with them. Instead of telling yourself that you're going to just continuously highlight and rewrite your notes, now this is where you start researching into YouTube how to study more effectively. Instead of going through the emotional torment of wondering whether your friends like you, This is where you probably take a bit of time to ask yourself what are the types of people that you're actually valuing, and whether or not you want to put your energy into that. You need to go through a season where you reassess the systems that you have in your life and check whether or not they're burning you out or not. And the good thing is that because you're young, you have the time to actually appreciate the fact that you can use the time to be more intentional, to be more effective later on. You are not losing time if you are patient about building a strong foundation for yourself. You spend maybe months or a couple weeks sometimes just reframing the systems around you, which would allow you to be better and do better and be able to achieve more. It's setting more boundaries. It's having triggers which are able to examine your energy and compare your energy to the week before. It's being more effective. It's journaling. It's taking the time to look at what you're doing now and track yourself week by week to see how your energy is doing. And that's how you can actually use burnout as a litmus test for these systems that you're implementing in yourself right now. What I would suggest is try a new system, do your best at it, and see whether or not you're getting burnt out. If you are getting burnt out by the new system that you're implementing, try again. Litmus test it. You have the opportunity to be ruthless with the systems that you in place, because you know that you don't want to be in that season of burnout once more. Now that you can tell that you are going to look out for your fatigue, your mental exhaustion, and your tiredness intentionally, this means that you can iterate with the systems around you to help you to prevent the emotions that you're feeling right now. Strip back everything else that's around you and work from the ground up, building an environment around you which supports you in what you're trying to do. And look, I know that we don't always have the best systems around us. And the truth is that your environment will depict whether or not you are easily exposed to feeling burnt out. But that doesn't mean that we can't at least try to implement certain systems which help us to achieve the goals that we set out for ourselves. That doesn't mean that you have to just sit down, lose, and accept the fact that you can't implement a system which allows you to at least practice habits which help you to be appreciative of the life that you're in at the moment. You control how much time you spend on your phone. You control at times how much time you spend, doom scrolling on social media, waking up late, doing all these things. The simple habits at night, sleeping early, spending less time on your phone, spending more time outside. These are the small things that go a long way because they help you. And you know what, before I even say this, people think that systems are supposed to be looking big. They think that these systems and habits and things are these magic pills that you can use to get the goals that you want done. No, a system should be simple, a system should be easy, and a system should be effective. If you're able to implement as easy of a system as possible, is just saying, look, I'm not going to open my phone until I've written a sentence about why I appreciate the day. As soon as you start that, you start your day on a positive note, and you have reduced the feeling of getting burnt out that day, tenfold. Because you're starting your day without comparing yourself to others, and you're starting your day by appreciating the life that you have now. And if you get burnt out by that, by maybe writing, you'd say, okay, I know that the gratification of life is something I should be practicing. Maybe instead of writing on a piece of paper, maybe I can go outside. And maybe I can just sit in the sun and say, wow, this is awesome. Maybe I can go for a walk. Use these systems around you, these very, very bare bones systems. Start from the beginning and go up. I saw there's so many people that talk about this, whether it be Ali Abdaal, Andrew Huberman, and all these stuff. Any of these optimization bros or whatever they're called. Productivity people, just use the bare minimum that they recommend, start slowly and get better at it. I think the book Atomic Habits is excellent for this. It talks about, gaining the good habits to help you be more effective. And it's one I recommend to a lot of people. And also The Unfair Advantage. The Unfair Advantage is probably one of my favorite books ever, just because it talks about how you can use the situation that you're in, regardless of where you're at, to help you to be better at what you're doing. And you can use these to implement habits and systems in your life to help minimize the burnout that you're experiencing, understand the situations that you're in, and implement better systems around you with time to help you limit the burnout and to help you to achieve more. Because right now, if you're burning out, you're probably feeling like you're in the red right now, like you're in the negative. It Succeeding in that stage doesn't look like getting ahead of everyone else. It just looks like catching up to being at a stable point in your life and then using that to get ahead. So if you want to limit your burnout, you have to change your mindset to saying, I'm not trying to get ahead of everybody else. I'm just trying to catch up to the me that I know that I can be. I'm just catching up to the me that is happy, stable, and is content with where he is right now. And then I can work on myself to get better. And next is, you can't do this alone. I know that a lot of you, especially a lot of guys, they want to go on this monk mode retreat. They want to start, pushing through the grind. I remember there was a big push in like 2020, 2021 post-COVID where everyone felt like they just had to be locked in, bro. And when you'd lock yourself in a room and try push yourself and just try achieve everything on your own, I'd say please don't do that. You will just get burnt out again. You will either get socially cucked. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'll leave it in. You'll either get socially incapable of, talking to everybody else, or you'll just never go out because of the fear of that. Spend as much time around those around you who are actually able to bring you out of this state of burnout, and those who have experienced seasons of positive habits to be able to share them with you. And those people that have implemented positive habits, those genuinely nice people, are going to be some of the nicest people that you have, because they'll actually be able to help you get through this season of feeling burnt out. Anyone that genuinely cares about you, whoever it may be, it could be offline, it could be online. Look, if you're someone that's maybe has a bit of social anxiety, start online. Find communities of people that genuinely want to help. If not, then I'd recommend going out. If you're young, go out, find people, make mistakes, learn. Find people who want to better themselves too, who want to limit the burnout that they're having too. Talk to people about the burnout that you're experiencing so that it's just not all in your head. And learn from the systems that they are implementing so that you can implement them too to better yourself. Because you can't get through burnout alone. You can't get through mental fatigue alone, because you're in a state of mind where you can't really trust yourself to think straight. You're just in that moment where you're just buzzing through life and you're not really taking the time to appreciate how you're mentally feeling right now. So the last person that you should be trusting is you and yourself alone, because you won't be able to appreciate the fact that you are getting close to feeling overwhelmed by everything that's around you. And those are the moments where you can remind yourself of your why in which you're doing this. Most of the time, the reason why we do get burnt out is because we forget our why. We forget why we're pushing through. We forget why we're doing this in the first place. If you write down your why in your room and you remember the reason of why you're doing everything that you're doing, you will be able to catch out whether or not you're burning out or not. Your why should be connected to you and how you want to serve others. It should not be connected to any external goal. Your why is not millionaire by 21. That's not a why. If you do that, if you make that your why, you will die to that why. Having a good why would remind you to stay on track to actually achieving the goals that you want to achieve. It'll remind you to connect with the community. It would remind you to be mindful of the decisions that you're making and not to just go through them and just experience life on the other side. It'll also remind you to set the right boundaries. It'll remind you to put limits on where you give your energy and how much you give your energy to. Because one of the biggest ways in which we get burnt out is by overextending ourselves and overstressing ourselves and chronically thinking that we can handle every burden around us, even though we can't. Overcommitting yourself and not setting boundaries and forgetting your why puts you on the path to getting burnt out. Remember your why. be with the right people, set boundaries, and don't overcommit. You're probably wondering now, how do you balance it though? If you're in a hot season, how do you balance the sacrifice that you have to make without getting burnt out again? And I think that's a really big dilemma that we face. Because in all honesty, limiting the amount of stress and sacrificing more and putting stuff to the side is hard. I think it's more about having that mentality of saying that this is not what I'm giving up, but this is what I'm putting to the side for now, and understanding that I need to get better at what I'm doing right now in this difficult season. If I have exams, I would tell myself, I need to just put this, so I know that I can't be with you every single day, but if you just give me a couple weeks, I'm going through a hard season and I need to get through this so I can be even better. I can be there and I can be better for you. If you can do that, then that puts you ahead of so many other people, and it lets you get through this hard season being mentally aware or being emotionally conscious of the stresses that you're going through at that time. And at that time, the balance itself doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It's just delaying the commitment that you're making to that thing, to that person, to a place in which you'll have the emotional capacity to actually be there for that commitment. Another way of how to limit burnout is by scheduling a break. Schedule breaks that force you to relax. One of the biggest unlocks for me was having a week where I just rest. It's about every 3 to 4 months. I think it's every 3 months actually, where I just tell myself, this is my rest week, my reset week. And I cannot lie, I've been so grateful for every reset week that I've had, because you tell yourself that, oh, I don't need to rest now, I'm still fine, I can keep going. But then on the other side of that reset week, you're like, oh, I'm so happy I did that. Set an intentional week for yourself where you will be resting, instead of kind of forcing yourself to rest only when the job is done, only when you are complete, because it might be too late then. Understand how your energy works, understand how your discipline works, and set periods or rests in between that to actually allow yourself to keep that momentum going. You don't want to rest when you've already crashed and burned. You want to kind of periodize it so that you can see yourself slowly get, you say your energy levels are slowly getting down, and before you burn out and just dip, you want to like, ooh, and then recharge, and then go back down, and then recharge. In a way, it actually helps you to be more effective for longer. And I know that if you're someone like me, you probably feel bad for resting, but I promise you, this is one of the biggest unlocks that you can have for the amount of commitment, energy, and time that you can give to the things you care about and the people that you care about too. Have seasoned rests. Schedule, if you're someone that doesn't believe in rest, schedule a rest. Schedule a day in which you're not going to use your phone. You're intentionally telling yourself, I'm not going to touch my phone, I'm not going to go outside, I'm not going to touch my phone, I'm going to go outside, and I'm actually going to enjoy the things that are around me, and I'm actually going to take a breath. If you just do that, frick, bro, you're going to get back so much more energy the next day to go back and be better, that you're going to feel on top of everything that you're doing in that period of time. Now, if that's just a day, now imagine what 3 days can do. Imagine what a week can do. And I'm also, like I said this, I am saying this to the person that has been overworking themselves for the past 6 months and refuses to take a break. I am not saying this to the guy that gets tired off of doing one problem sheet and feels as if they need to relax. This is not for you. I'm trying to talk to the person that is on that path to serial overwhelmment right now, to serial burnout right now, and they don't know what to do. And they can't tell they're being burnt out. Take a week. Schedule that week and do nothing. And take the time to appreciate and reiterate and think about the systems that you're going to be implementing for the next 3 months to help you from being burnt out again. It just made a big difference in my life, and I know that it can make a big difference in yours. Now, Is it possible to never be burnt out again? Kind of, but no. I think it's possible to never be burnt out for an extended season again, but I think burnout is inevitable. As you make systems which you want to try out to be better at yourself and to improve yourself, you're going to experience burnout more and more. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can let that burnout last perpetually. You should be able to learn to get the signs to catch yourself burning out sooner to limit the amount of times that you burn out. If you are ambitious and you have drive and you wanna get better at doing the things that you do, you're just gonna end up feeling burnout a lot more times than you think. But the real value in that though is catching yourself burning out and then doing something about it as soon as you feel that, instead of telling yourself that you're going to sit in it for as long as possible. Take the time to look at the systems that you're implementing. If you maybe just had exams or whatever it may be and you're feeling overwhelmed, take the time to rest, but take the time to implement systems and a strategy to help you out the next time. Don't look at the burnout in the eyes and accept it, but think about the systems that you can implement for yourself to actually help you be better. Burnout is a choice at the end of the day. It's a choice. It's a price that you pay for trying to be your best. It's a price that you pay for trying to be ambitious, and that's okay. But don't pay it for too long. All right. Thank you so much for listening so far. I hope you guys have had a good one. This was so fun to make. And I'll see you guys next week with intention. Bye-bye.